There is a flame within each of us. A flame that burns not with warmth, but with craving. A fire that whispers to the heart, more. More pleasure, more comfort, more certainty. It is the fire of desire, and it consumes without mercy. This is the beginning of our suffering. We chase shadows, mistaking them for light. We cling to what is impermanent, hoping it will last. We flee from discomfort, believing peace lies somewhere else, just beyond the next achievement, the next relationship, the next distraction. But what if the suffering is not out there? What if it is inside? What if it is born from the very way we see? You suffer because you do not see clearly. This was the Buddha's first teaching. Not a promise of paradise, not a call to worship, but a mirror held up to the mind, revealing its confusion. He did not say life is only suffering. He said there is suffering, and we must see it. See it in its fullness, not avoid it, not deny it, not numb it. To awaken is not to escape the fire. It is to stop feeding it. The root of suffering is craving, and craving is not just wanting. It is the thirst to become more, to become other than what we are, to become someone, somewhere, somehow. Not this, and yet this is all there is. To begin to understand suffering is to stand still, to look within, to feel not just the pain, but the grasping behind the pain. You see, every attachment hides a fear, and every fear, a delusion. The world tells you that you are not enough, and you believe it. So you run, faster, harder, farther. You measure your worth by likes, by dollars, by praise, and still you feel empty. This is not your fault. It is the way of the world. But you are not of the world, not entirely. There is something deeper within you, something still, something vast, and it is waiting for you to remember. The Buddha did not teach dogma. He offered a path, not a belief but a practice, not an answer, but a question. What is the nature of this mind? He spoke of the Eightfold Path, but before that he taught to see the first noble truth, that even in the most beautiful moments, suffering exists, because all things pass, because we cling, because we hope the temporary will last forever. You suffer, not because life is cruel, but because your mind resists what is. The rain falls, and you wish for sun. The body ages, and you mourn your youth. Someone leaves, and you ache for their return. You suffer, because you believe things should be different. But reality does not bow to your beliefs. And peace does not come from changing the world. It comes from changing the relationship you have with it. Imagine standing in the center of a storm untouched. Rain pours, wind howls, and yet you are still. This is what mindfulness offers. This is what the Buddha taught. Satya, mindfulness, is the gateway. It is not just awareness, but right awareness. To see clearly, without distortion. To witness your thoughts, your urges, your fears, and not be pulled under. The mind wants to react, but you can train it to respond. The mind wants to judge, but you can teach it to observe. The mind wants to escape, but you can invite it to stay. When mindfulness becomes your way of being, suffering begins to dissolve. Not because pain disappears, but because your attachment to it does. You begin to see that thoughts are not truth, feelings are not commands, and the story you tell yourself is just a story. The Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not to escape suffering, but to understand it. And in understanding, he became free. You too can sit, you too can look, you too can wake up. But first, you must become willing to see, to stop running, to stop blaming, to stop hiding from your own mind. This is the beginning, not of some holy quest outside yourself, but the return inward, the return to now, to breath, to stillness, to truth. You cannot outrun suffering, but you can walk with it. You can listen to it. And when you truly see it, you will no longer fear it, because behind suffering, there is a doorway, and beyond that doorway, there is liberation. You do not need to become someone else to be free. You need only see, truly see, what binds you now. And that begins with thought. Thought is the architect of your reality. It is the painter of your joys and your sorrows. But most people never question the brush in their hand. They believe every thought that arises. They identify with every emotion. And so, they suffer. But you are not your thought. You are the awareness that sees them. Just as the sky is not the storm, you are not your mental weather. Anger rises, and you grasp it. Fear whispers, and you follow. Desire tempts, and you obey. But mindfulness teaches you another way. To notice the thought, but not become it. To allow the feeling, but not act from it. To witness the craving, but not feed it. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts we make the world." And so, if you wish to change your world, begin with your thoughts. Observe them, question them, ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this kind? Most suffering comes not from reality, but from the story we attach to it. Pain is real, but suffering is optional. The rain falls, that is pain. You think, it shouldn't be raining, my day is ruined. That is suffering. You lose something dear. That is pain. You think, I can't live without it. That is suffering. But you can live without it. You already are. You just haven't realized it yet. The mind is a garden. If you do not tend it with care, weeds will grow. If you want peace, plant seeds of peace. If you want joy, plant seeds of compassion. If you want freedom, plant seeds of wisdom. Water them daily with mindfulness. Let the light of awareness shine upon them. And over time, the garden will change. But do not expect the harvest overnight. The mind has been conditioned for years. It will resist. It will rebel. It will tempt you to return to old habits, old stories, old identities. Let it, and still, return to the breath. Return to the moment. Return to the silence beneath the noise. The Buddha's wisdom is not far. It is here, right now, in this very breath, this very step, this very choice. Do not look for it in temples alone. Find it in your daily life, in how you eat, how you speak, how you treat others, how you treat yourself. This path is not easy, but it is simple, and it begins here. The roots of suffering grow deepest in the soil of belief, not religious belief, not doctrine, but the invisible assumptions you carry about yourself, about the world, about what must happen for you to be at peace. You say, I'll be happy when I have more money, when I find love, when I am respected, when I am no longer afraid. And so you wait for a future that never comes, for a version of yourself that never arrives, for a life that always feels just out of reach. But the Buddha did not wait. He sat. He looked. He saw. He saw that all things, even joy, are impermanent. He saw that suffering clings to what cannot stay. He saw that peace does not come from getting what we want, but from understanding what we are. And what are we? We are awareness. We are consciousness. Wide, spacious, luminous. We are not the contents of our experience, but the space in which experience arises. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. But you've forgotten. You believe the passing moods, the shifting identities, the voices of doubt. You think you are the anger, the fear, the shame, but they are only clouds, and you are the sky. When you begin to question your beliefs, you reclaim your freedom. Ask yourself, who told me I must be perfect? Who said I'm not worthy as I am? Who decided success looks like this? Most of our suffering is inherited, passed down from generation to generation, built into culture, normalized by society. But just because it is common does not mean it is true. The Buddha urged us not to believe anything simply because it has been repeated. He said, "Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that something agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of all, then accept it and live up to it." This is radical freedom. The freedom to think for yourself, to feel for yourself, to live from your own truth, not someone else's script. And yet, freedom terrifies the mind, because with freedom comes responsibility. If you are no longer a victim of the world, then you must own your reactions. You must see that no one is causing your suffering, not real. It is your response that creates the prison. It is your belief that you must have things your way, that people must behave a certain way, that life must obey your desires. But life is what it is. It moves like the wind, unpredictable, untamable, wild. You can resist it and suffer, or you can dance with it and be free. Let go of the illusion of control. You cannot control the waves, but you can learn to surf. To surf you need balance. To balance you need clarity. And clarity begins with letting go of what is not true. Look at your thoughts. How many of them are rooted in fear? How many are echoes of an old self? The child who was never enough. The adult still chasing validation. These beliefs, these inner ghosts, they are not you. They are visitors. Let them come. Let them go. Your task is not to fight the mind. It is to see through it. To see that behind every thought, there is stillness. And that stillness is your true home. When you live from that stillness, wisdom arises. Not intellectual knowledge, but the deep intuitive knowing that flows from presence. This wisdom cannot be learned in books. It is discovered in silence, in attention, in the space between one breath and the next. And what does this wisdom say? It says, you are already whole. It says there is nowhere to go. It says you are not broken. It says this moment is enough. This is the wisdom the Buddha taught. The wisdom of direct experience, of seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Right view, samadhi, is the beginning of the noble eightfold path. It is the clear seeing that cuts through illusion, that sees suffering not as a punishment, but as a teacher, that sees impermanence not as a tragedy, but as liberation. Because if all things pass, then even your pain will pass, even your fear will pass, even your confusion, your doubt, your sorrow, all of it will pass. And what remains? Presence, awareness, peace. But peace is not passive. It is alive. It is powerful. It is a clarity that moves like a river, cutting through stone. This peace does not shrink from life. It meets it fully. And that meeting, that full-hearted presence, is love. Not the love of possession, not the love of attachment, but the boundless open love that simply says yes. Yes to this breath. Yes to this moment. Yes to this life, as it is. When you stop fighting what is, you begin to heal. And when you heal, you awaken. And when you awaken, you no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this teaching me? This is the shift, from victim to student, from seeker to finder, from suffering to understanding. The world does not owe you peace, but you can find peace within the world. How? Through intention, through awareness, through practice. The path is not far. It is under your feet. The teacher is not outside. It is your own experience. And the time is not later. It is now. The Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourself. That lamp is lit through clarity. Clarity of purpose, clarity of vision, clarity of being. You are not here to accumulate. You are here to awaken. You are not here to conquer. You are here to understand. Understand that suffering continues to find you, because you are still chasing illusions, because you have not yet come home to yourself, because you still believe peace lies elsewhere. But it does not. It lies in your breath, in your stillness, in your seeing. When the eyes open, the heart follows. When the heart opens, compassion flows, and in compassion, there is no fear. There is only connection, only truth, only the great silence that holds all things. You are not separate from this truth. You are it. You have simply forgotten. So remember, not with your mind, but with your being. Remember who you are before thought, before name, before story. Remember and return. The way back to yourself is not a journey of distance, but of depth. Not a climb toward greatness, but a descent into presence. And presence is not passive. It is the most radical act in a world addicted to distraction. To sit, to breathe, to feel, without running, is to reclaim your life from the illusions that scatter it. It is to remember what it means to truly be alive. But this remembering is not easy. The path to awakening passes through fire. The fire of discipline, the fire of facing your shadow, the fire of letting go. We live in a culture that glorifies ease, that promises happiness without effort, joy without discomfort, growth without sacrifice. But the Buddha never made such promises. He offered a path of practice, not perfection, a path of inner alchemy, where pain becomes insight and hardship becomes fuel. Discipline is the foundation, not rigid, punishing discipline, but compassionate discipline, the kind that says, because I care about my freedom, I will train this mind. I will sit, even when I don't feel like it. I will listen, even when the noise is loud. I will return again and again to what is true. This is the heart of meditation, not escape, not bliss, not emptiness, but return to the breath, to the body, to the moment. To sit on the cushion is to turn toward yourself, to face all the parts you usually avoid, the boredom, the restlessness, the ache of old wounds, the roar of judgment, and to remain, to breathe through it, to see it clearly, to make space. This is not weakness, this is strength, because to remain with your experience without grasping or resisting, this is mastery, this is liberation. Each time you sit, you train the mind to be still. Each time you notice a thought and let it go, you loosen the grip of ego. Each time you stay with the breath, you anchor in the now, and the now is where transformation lives. The present moment is not neutral, it is sacred. It is where karma is made, where insight arises, where love is born. And yet, how often are you truly present? How often do you eat without tasting, walk without feeling the ground, see without listening, live without living? You are not tired because you are busy. You are tired because you are disconnected. Discipline reconnects you. It brings the wandering mind home. And from that place of stillness, a new kind of action arises. Skillful action, right action. Samarkamanta. Not reaction, not impulse, but response. Conscious, intentional, rooted in clarity. This is what it means to live the Dharma. Not to believe in a teaching, but to embody it. Not to preach peace, but to become it. When you live with right action, you stop adding to the world's suffering. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer chase validation. You no longer act from fear. Instead, you move from compassion, from integrity, from wisdom. And this action leaves no residue. It does not trap you in guilt or pride or regret. It is clean, like a clear stream flowing through a mountain. But right action is not always easy. It often means saying no when you want to say yes, walking away when the ego wants revenge, speaking truth when silence would be safer. This is why it takes discipline, because the untrained mind wants comfort, not truth. It wants pleasure, not wisdom. It wants approval, not integrity. But the awakened heart wants only one thing: to be free. And freedom requires effort, not harsh, self-punishing effort, but joyful, persistent effort. Samavayama, the effort to stay awake, to guard the mind, to cultivate what is skillful, to abandon what is not. You become like a gardener, tending the soil of your consciousness, pulling weeds, planting seeds, watering patience, pruning attachment, fertilizing kindness. And over time, the fruits begin to show, not in some distant future, but here, now, in how you speak, how you listen, how you wake in the morning, how you fall asleep at night. You begin to see that every moment is a mirror, reflecting the state of your mind, reflecting your deepest values. And if you don't like what you see, you don't need to hate the mirror. You simply begin again. You choose presence over distraction, truth over comfort, compassion over fear. This is the path, not linear, not perfect, not glamorous, but real, human, sacred. And what sustains you on this path? Gratitude. Gratitude is the nourishment of the soul. It is the daily reminder that even in difficulty there is blessing, that even in suffering there is teaching. When you live with gratitude, life softens, the heart opens, the mind relaxes. You stop taking things for granted. You stop needing more to feel enough. You begin to see the beauty that has always been here, hidden in plain sight. The breath, the sky, the smile of a stranger, the rhythm of footsteps on earth. You begin to bow, not out of duty but devotion. Not because you have to, but because your heart cannot help it. And in that bowing, the ego dissolves. The illusion of separateness fades. And you remember, this moment is a gift, not a problem to solve, not a ladder to climb, not a burden to endure, but a gift, sacred, whole, enough. The Buddha smiled, not because he had no pain, but because he had no resistance. He accepted the world as it was, and in that acceptance, he found boundless peace. You can too, not by changing your life, but by changing how you live it, by bringing mindfulness to each breath, by bringing intention to each word, by bringing love to each step. You will stumble, you will forget, but that is not failure. The only failure is not beginning again. So begin, here, now. This moment is your temple. This breath is your teacher. This life, messy, imperfect, miraculous, is your... To walk this path with strength, you must cultivate a quality often overlooked in the pursuit of spiritual ideals: adaptability. Life, in all its vastness, is never fixed. Like water, it flows. Like wind, it turns. Like fire, it transforms. And yet, the mind longs for certainty. It builds rigid structures. It clings to plans. It worships control. But suffering, again and again, finds you through this clinging. It finds you when things don't go as expected, when the future does not unfold according to your design, when the identity you built begins to crack. And so the one who wishes to be free must become like bamboo, firm in root, but flexible in form. The Buddha taught that clinging to identity, to view, to expectation, is one of the 10 fetters, the chains that bind us to suffering. Even clinging to spiritual self can become a trap. Even attachment to being awakened is still ego in disguise. Freedom is not in perfection. It is in fluidity. It is in the graceful dance with change. Everything changes. This is not a curse. It is a blessing, because if all things change, then even your suffering will pass. Even the hardest seasons of life are not forever, and so the wise one does not resist impermanence. They make peace with it. They lean into it. They allow it to be their teacher. When grief comes, you bow to it. When loss arrives, you sit with it. When uncertainty wraps around your life, you breathe through it. And slowly something powerful is born. Resilience. Not the brittle strength of denial, but the quiet power of presence. Resilience is not pretending you're okay. It's knowing that even when you're not okay, you are still whole. It's knowing that even when the heart breaks, you are not broken. It's trusting that even in the dark, the seed of wisdom is growing. This is the fruit of adaptability. You stop needing life to meet your expectation, and instead, you meet life as it is. You become a student of every moment. Every failure becomes a doorway. Every disappointment, a teaching. Every ending, an invitation to begin again. And this resilience gives rise to something even deeper. Fearlessness. Not because there is nothing to fear, but because you are no longer ruled by fear. Because you know you can meet life. You can sit with uncertainty. You can face discomfort. You can walk through fire and emerge more whole. The Buddha did not promise a life without pain. He promised a way to meet pain without suffering. To walk this path is to choose truth over comfort, to choose love over fear, to choose awakening, not once, but in every moment. And the fuel for this awakening is learning. Learning not as accumulation of knowledge, but as transformation of being. You learn from your silence, from your stillness, from the mirror life holds up before you. You learn when you pause before reacting, when you notice your pattern, when you hold your suffering with tenderness instead of judgment. This is vipassana, clear seeing, the practice of looking deeply into the nature of things, to see impermanence in every breath, to see unsatisfactoriness in every craving, to see non-self in every identity. And in this seeing, the illusion dissolves. You see that what you called you is not fixed. It is a river of sensation, thought, perception. It changes moment to moment. There is no solid core, only process. And with that realization comes release. You stop defending the self. You stop needing to be right. You stop building walls around your identity. And instead, you become open, receptive, alive. This openness allows life to move through you. It allows insight to rise. It allows joy, deep, unshakable joy to arise. Not the joy of gain, but the joy of being. The joy of waking with the sunrise, of hearing the laughter of a child, of watching the breath enter and leave the body. This is the joy the Buddha spoke of, a joy not dependent on conditions, a joy that survives the fire because it is not born of clinging, but of release. This joy is not loud. It does not need to be performed. It is quiet. It is soft. But it is vast. And it carries you when life grows heavy. From joy comes love. Not love as attachment. Not love as possession. But love as freedom. Love that says, I see you and I do not need to hold you. Love that bows to the impermanence of all things. Love that does not grasp, but gives. And in this giving there is power. In this letting go there is truth. You begin to love not just people but the sky, the wind, the tears, the silence. You begin to love life as it is. And perhaps most miraculously, you begin to love yourself. Not the self you perform, not the self others approve, but the self beneath all roles. The still self, the true self, the self that was never separate from life to begin with. When this love awakens, you no longer ask, when will the pain stop? You ask, how can I serve? Because now you are free, not from pain, but from resistance. not from death, but from fear. And in that freedom, there is space to give, to create, to bless, to live fully, to die peacefully, to meet each moment as a friend. This is why the Buddha smiled, not because he had transcended life, but because he had embraced it. He no longer ran from suffering. He walked with it, hand in hand. He no longer feared change. He danced with it, step by step. And in that dance, he was free. You can be too. And so we arrive at the silent heart of it all. The essence, the truth that requires no language, only presence. All your searching, all your questions, all your running, they bring you here, to the still point, to the place where nothing is missing. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are only asked to wake up. Wake up, not to some transcendent realm beyond this world, but to this moment, to this life, to this breath. The suffering that keeps finding you, it is not punishment. It is invitation. It comes not to destroy you, but to deliver you, to break the shell of who you thought you were, so that the truth of who you are can shine through. But to hear this invitation, you must grow quiet. You must stop arguing with reality. Stop numbing the ache. Stop searching for the next fix. You must come home, to the body, to the breath, to the beating heart that has always loved you, even when you forgot. There is no secret, no hidden technique. The Dharma is simple. See clearly, let go, act with love. That's all. But don't mistake simple for easy. This path demands everything and gives more than you imagined. You will lose your illusions. You will lose your stories. You will lose the false identities that never belonged to you. But in that loss, you will find peace. A peace that is not dependent on the weather of life. A peace that is not threatened by failure, nor inflated by success. A peace that holds both joy and sorrow with equal tenderness. This peace is not distant. It is here, right now, whispering beneath the noise. Can you hear it? It says, stop chasing, stop clinging, stop becoming, just be. Be what? Be awareness. Be compassion. Be space. The world will tell you otherwise. It will tell you to build, to prove, to hustle, to perform. But the awakened one moves differently. With gentleness, with presence, with reverence for the sacred in all things. Because once you have truly seen, once you have touched the formless silence beneath your thoughts, you can no longer harm. You no longer need to dominate. You no longer need to defend. You no longer need to win. You are whole. You are home. And from that wholeness, your very life becomes a gift. Your presence becomes medicine. Your gaze becomes a mirror in which others see their own light. This is how the world changes. Not through force, but through being. Your being. Your still, spacious, undivided being. The Buddha never asked you to worship him. He asked you to look deeply, to question, to feel, to wake up. He said, you, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection, not after you improve, not after you succeed, but now, exactly as you are. And this love, this unconditional love, for what is, it is the gateway to liberation. So let it in. Let it pour into the cracks. Let it hold the ache. Let it wash over the shame. Let it remind you, you are already free. Every time you breathe mindfully, you come closer. Every time you choose compassion, you come closer. Every time you release the need to be right, to be first, to be seen, you come closer. Closer to what? Closer to truth. Closer to love. Closer to yourself. Because truth is not far. It is not hidden. It is not waiting in the next teaching, the next retreat, the next life. It is here, now, in this breath, in this body, in this sacred, fleeting, miraculous moment. So rest here, not as escape, but as return. Return to the heart. Return to awareness. Return to the truth that has never left you. And when suffering comes again, as it will, you will no longer fear it. You will meet it with open hands. You will say, I see you. I hear you. What would you teach me now? And then you will listen. You will feel. You will bow. And you will rise. Not hardened, but softened. Not closed, but wide open. Not smaller, but vast. This is the power of awakening. It is not the escape from life, but the full embrace of it. So embrace it all. The light, the shadow, the joy, the grief, the no, the mystery. Embrace it and be free. Be free. Not because life has changed, but because you have. Because you have remembered what the Buddha remembered beneath the Bodhi tree. That peace is possible. That love is your nature. That awakening is not a myth, but your birthright. So live it, breathe it, share it. And when you lay down at night, let your heart be light. Let your breath be calm. Let your spirit be whole. You have not failed. You have not fallen behind. You are simply walking the path, one step at a time, and each step is sacred.